went into a studio, which was a clean room. He said, "What would you think if we told you that in the early 70s, there was a landing of an alien craft at Holloman Air Force Base, and our TDY, temporary duty guys, had filmed it?" And I was just sort of scratching my head thinking, UFOs? What are we talking about? So he said, "Look, if you're interested, you should bury that under the other projects, because UFO sends up a red flag." So he said, "If you're interested, go talk to Captain somebody and he'll start a liaison with the Pentagon," which we did. I was told that there was footage, and that was sort of like a carrot. You know, you'll be provided with the film that we have, 900 feet of ectochrome. And off we began our project. We had a legal contract with the Pentagon and an agreement on everything that we were going to be doing and their total cooperation. They fulfilled every one of our requests. They vetted our information, gave sanction to it. They really did not influence the content at all. I was quite surprised. Even the people at Holloman did not say, "What are you doing? What are you talking about?" They seemed to confirm that something had happened. And the film was not forthcoming, but I knew where it was and what it was, and was told by one of the people we worked with that it was confiscated at the last minute because it didn't seem appropriate. So we ended up having to go to animation. But everything else was documented as I recall it happening. It was a daylight shot of a light ascending on Holloman Air Force Base. And then with that little clip, that's all that I can tell you that was genuine. A landing of a craft at Holloman, it was film, very brief. That's all, you know, I can tell you. It's genuine.
Just that snippet? So.
Just a light coming down from above. It was very not that distinguishable. It was just among other footage. That's all I can tell you.
And just to say on camera, you never saw the Holloman landing footage yourself?
Not really.
Okay. Can you elaborate? Can we just wait for that car?
Saved by the car. I'm trying to think how to answer that. I knew what the film was about, all the details of it, but I never saw a real projected version.
You saw a still of it?
Yes.
What is your bottom line, beginning, middle, and end?
Our bottom line is that there is a UFO phenomenon that's genuine and needs to be studied and taken seriously, and that one of the things that makes that difficult is the muddying of the waters by people like Rick Doty, Walter Bosley, and others who are working for FBI, OSI, whoever else they're working for, CIA, NSA, and that they are making the work of people like yourself and us and others who want to understand what's really going on very, very difficult.
Okay, and thank you for your attention. We're ready to roll here in just momentarily.
If you believe it's true, you have to buy in to this phantasmagorical, conspiratorial, bizarre, nonsensical, ridiculous story. And you know, when I sat down with Rick, his response to me is, you know, it's really all true.
He was scared.
Rick's great strength is he's a wonderful storyteller. He's a very friendly guy. He builds relationships easily. My immediate instinct is to trust him.
I saw it. It was a humanoid, not a human.
I think it's very easy to mislead people in the UFO community. You get them going down a certain trail, you give them certain leads, and you just watch people chase their tails over and over again looking for the truth. I was living and working in New York when Linda Howe actually came and stayed with me for a few days, and it was right in the midst of her working on this HBO project. Linda sort of was, I believe, on the track at the time of thinking that this was the film that was going to again expose everything. And I believe she was in touch with Doty at the time. I think, in fact, she had even gone to meet him face to face. And that was very curious to me because I'd known about this guy through Bill, Bill Moore. And so I thought, now he's kind of hooking Linda in the same way.
Doty says that he has names of people who are witnesses. A security guard has a gun melted in his hand. There's a disc, beings. I want to investigate that story.
The original plan, Linda Howe, was to obtain everything she knew, as much information she knew, and try to find out what she was going to air in this documentary to HBO and whether we wanted it aired or not. So I drove her out to Kirtland, to the OSI office. I took her into a special room. I told her it was the commander's office, which wasn't really necessarily true.
The first thing that shifted this from being what I thought was going to be a 5-minute meeting, get these names and addresses and phone numbers and go on, because I had already set up other things to do. That documentary that you did broadsided the government. How do you mean? Nobody ever expected that a credible journalist would ever take on the animal mutilation story. It was like something was shifting in the air. Where is this going? What is happening here? He never gave me a list of names, phone numbers. Instead, he said, my superiors have asked me to show you something. Pulled out this manila envelope, pulled out these pages, and as he's handing them to me, he says, you can read these. You cannot take notes. You can ask me questions, but I want you to move from the chair you're sitting in to that chair.
Everything that was done there was being filmed by other agents in another room. It was a two-way mirror.
And I'm looking at the top page, and it's all caps, briefing paper for the President of the United States of America on unidentified aerial vehicles. And I'm trying to read what is the most remarkable series of letters in words that probably has ever been handed to me, because this was new. I was innocent. And it started out about all of these places that the government of the United States had retrieved discs that were identified as extraterrestrial. I knew some names, like Roswell. There was Aztec, Magdalena, south of Laredo, and down in Arizona. There were, my mind was kind of reeling at how many places this is saying, because all of us had only heard of Roswell, really. And eventually it came to paragraphs that are as indelibly emblazoned in my mind sitting here today as they were then. And the one that probably is the one worth sharing for all of this. These extraterrestrials manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. And I remember reading that sentence over several times, trying to absorb the implication of its meaning. Because if Homo sapien is a genetically constructed species by extraterrestrials, we are then, by definition, a planet of 6.5 billion androids. If we are androids, what purpose are we serving? All of that hit me reading that sentence. Then on the last page, paragraph, 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 Project Garnet, all caps. All questions and mysteries about the evolution of Homo sapien on this planet have been answered, and this project is closed.
The documents that I showed her came from our special office in Washington with the operational plan and what I was supposed to do, and the plans that show her these. Well, I'd read them before. I mean, I knew what was in them, and I read them, and I realized that some of the information contained in there was real. But then I realized that, you have to give real information in order for a person to think you're credible. So I knew what was in there, and I gave them to her, and it was sanctioned. I did what I was told to do.
when you look back at it, they must have had meetings about how do we stop a persistent and dogged reporter who has already demonstrated that she's going to go after a really, really difficult subject. How do we stop her? When you look back, it all makes sense.
She wanted me to tell her things that I couldn't tell her. And at one point, then she went public with my name, and she did what Paul Benowitz and Bill Moore didn't do. She publicized the fact that she had she was deceived by a government agency, namely OSI, and although there were many other people involved in the operation, she named my name, and so then I became a public figure. We actually played a trick on Linda that kind of paid her back, so to speak. Not anything that harmed her in any way or anything like that, but we kind of planted something that she ran with, which wasn't factual, and I think she realized that maybe she should keep her mouth shut after that.
The forged documents shown to Linda Moulton Howe by Richard Doty would form the basis for the Majestic 12 papers, which expanded upon the story of the Roswell UFO crash and provided the foundations for the future UFO mythology in America. And over 3 decades later, these documents are